So in this final recording relating to promoting events for CHD, I want to just summarize what we've been through so far. The first thing to get your head around is when you want success, you have to take action. You have to have activity, and there's got to be lots of it. You've got to get yourself out there. You've got to get yourself out there through communicating people by email, by text, by LinkedIn, by Facebook, joining groups that of people who are in this particular area, who are interested in personal development, business development, entrepreneurialism. They're interested in bettering themselves. They're more aspirational. You have to get yourself into these areas that are in society. Now, promotions used to hang about, in the West End of London with some tickets for a comedy show or something like that, and you'd sell those tickets on the street. Now, we don't do that anymore because, we're a global audience, and that's the benefit. There's people everywhere. There's nearly 8 billion people that you can communicate. It's not just the country you're in, the town you're in, the city you're in. We're talking about the whole world is open to you to communicate with and book on an event. Once you book someone on an event, you get paid immediately. Now, if you're doing it face-to-face, then that's great. You're going to get $10 or $25, depending on what you can sell at that moment. And you're really booking them on a 2-hour workshop. And that's the thing that we want to be booking people on twice a week, either career or we want to be booking them on the personal development side. Now, as far as the subject that we're doing, why are we different to other people? Well, we do something called mental acceleration. We're not into therapy. We're not into coaching so much. We're more into mental acceleration so someone can start to really use their brain in the way that it was designed to do. And we have a huge amount of scientific material and research to do that. We've got over 200 hours of audio-visual tapes. We've got nearly 1.5 million written words. We have a community. We have daily training sessions. We have a whole structure on understanding how the mind works, why it works in the way it does, and how you can accelerate your thinking into things called hemispheric synchronization, flow state, agile thinking, which increases your creative problem solving and your critical thinking, empathetic understanding, and co-creative abilities. This is the expanse of the work that we've done, and we've spent a huge amount of time, many, many years, putting this together. So for you at the front end, you've got to be really kind of excited about what the future brings. And really the excitement comes from change. A lot of people get stuck in their ways. They're stuck in their job, stuck in their business. Life isn't changing. They're even stuck in a relationship. And really, when they start to see things from a new perspective, from a new way, that's when life suddenly re-engages itself again and starts to get exciting. And in the next 10 years, we're going to see huge amounts of people come out of work, huge amounts of automation, huge amounts of sort of trouble and strife with artificial intelligence. It's going to be growing pains, difficulty, friction. And that's where expanded thinking, agile thinking is really very, very important for a person because it's a survival base. Because if you can imagine, the more restricted you're thinking, more limited your choices, and therefore you're going to have to react to situations that are beyond your control. And that can be quite demeaning for someone, can be quite painful for someone, can be physically painful, mentally painful, and disruptive to many people's lives. So what you're doing is you're actually helping people ahead of the game, and we are ahead of the game here. We are quite a long way down the line. Very few competitors, in fact none, that we're aware of, that have done the amount of research that we've done and can put these mechanisms together. We know exactly what we need to do with a person to challenge their thinking through things called non-combative argument, things like practicing flow state, moral dilemmas, and learning how to understand entrepreneurialism, what it means to have to be able to think in angles all the time, to overcome things and get under, round, over everything. So it's a highly flexible human being, which is essential for the future. Because what the future requires from us is to be able to use that massive creativity that we have in our dream state. And really, we want to base that around the theta brainwave, which is what you get when you wake up early in the morning. You've got that interaction between your dreams and real life and you thinking at the same time. That's the theta brainwave working. And that is an immensely creative, powerful, problem-solving, inspirational time that you can use your brain. And then you've got the gamma state, which is really high-level problem-solving. But for the brain to adapt to use these states, it's got to be put under a certain amount of pressure. It's got to be put under a certain amount of challenges based around how the mind actually understands its reality. Your mind understands a certain reality, has a certain view of it, has a certain perception. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it progressive. And a lot of the time for many people, it makes it regressive and it's self-defeating. So when we're going to people, we're really bringing a lot of good news to them, but they're completely unaware of all the subjects you're going to be talking about. But you're just going to be hinting at these subjects. And the more you understand them, the more you do your research, maybe through reading the books, Human 3.0, The Great Revolution, AI versus Humans, You versus You, they're all open to you to read, and you'll gain a huge amount of material and knowledge behind what you're starting to, communicate to other people about. And that will help you massively on one side. The next side is actually talking to people and finding out just how limited people are. You might have certain self-confidence issues. You might have certain things about what you do and don't like in this world. But once you start to calibrate yourself against other people, you're going to start to find that your confidence is going to go through the roof. You're going to start to be able to communicate with people at a much higher level. You're going to be much more creative and you're going to be, much more confident. And that is a better way. And you're going to just be able to see more. You're going to be able to feel more. And that's just through doing the promotional side of what we do, because you're going to be living and breathing this subject. When you want to be a success in a career, you've got to commit. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. And this is a mistake for many, many people. They swap from one thing to another. Oh, it's not working out for me within a couple of weeks. I'm not really doing the things that I want. I'm not enjoying it. Well, that's the beginning of doing anything new. You don't, when you get on a bike for the first time, you don't actually like riding a bike and falling off of it, do you? It's all uncomfortable. You don't know where everything is. But as time goes by, it starts to go into your unconscious and you start to be able to go into a real flow with the bike and ride it faster and faster. So it's exactly the same when starting a new role like this. The real future is open to you. We want to support you in whatever you want to give you the happiness, the pleasure, the income, and the prospects that you want. It's your ticket to ride here. It doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter what your education is, doesn't matter anything like that. Your brain can change if you decide to commit to change. Otherwise, it will always stay the same, stay within that bandwidth, that frequency that it's always been operating with, just like the people you're going to be talking to. So if you want to really have success, as I said, the first thing is you've got to talk to people, learn your craft. Learn about communication, learn about attention, interest, desire, action. Learn about practicing communication, practicing overcoming objections. So most people are in a negative mindset frame. So they're not going to say yes to you. They're going to come up with reasons not to do something. So the better that you are at combating those and starting to deal with them, the more effective you're going to become. Because, someone says, well, I haven't got enough time. Well, okay, let's have a look at it like this. If time is important to you, it's the quality of the time that you're using. So therefore, if you've got more skills to make more out of time, then surely your focus must be to acquire those more skills. Then it's a question of whether you believe those skills are going to benefit you. Now, what you're going to experience through a workshop is 15 years of research that is being brought to give you the opportunity so you can start to develop in a very much more rapid way. You're not going to take 15 years. You're going to take a short space of time. And in this context, it's going to take you 2 hours to develop your understanding of how you can start to clear the mind and become a programmer of mind and start to really become the creative architect of your life. Now, you've got 3 things there to check off on a check-off list with somebody. Are they programming their mind? Are they actually actively doing that? Do they understand how their language patterns actually program their mind? Well, no. Well, if you don't understand how your car runs, or you don't understand how to program the sat nav, how are you going to do it? And that's what it is. We've been conditioned and educated to not understand that we have a programming language of mind. The next thing is, do you have a clear mind? I mean, if someone's negative, it's not a clear mind. It's a clear mind is where they're neutral and they can really go to whatever direction they want. But if they're constantly negative, when they're identifying themselves as a negative mind, and you can see that, and when they're talking to you, they adopt a negative mindset. And you can say, look, just talking from my position, observing you, you're in very much a negative, restrictive mindset. That's what's coming across to me as an individual. Is that something you'd like to change? Because if it's coming across to me, it's coming across to other people, and that's affecting the results you're getting. And that's just a first position of observation. So you're going to learn how to analyze people. You're not going to become a psychotherapist, but you're going to become a psychotechnician of the mind. So when you're talking to people, you can understand exactly why they're saying certain things and exactly how unconscious they really are. So it's not just a sales role. This is where you're actively helping people. And the more you put into this, the more you start to train your mind to understand this subject, which is the most important subject of the next 10 years as far as humankind is concerned, because we have to upgrade our minds so we can interface with artificial intelligence using the masses of creativity that was suppressed out of us with convergent left brain thinking. If you could start to develop that part of you, you've got a far better chance of succeeding and surviving the next 10 years rather than being reactive all the time and just taking what everybody says and sort of being pushed from pillar to post. Not a good way of living. So as we go forward, this is just the first step, this is the first bit of your growth, the first entry point into this whole subject. And you're becoming a psychotechnician within the industry of neuroscience and behavioral science, and how that works in mental acceleration to achieve higher levels of consciousness and flow state. These are fundamentals for you to be able to navigate the future as much as the people you are talking to, because without them, just let's have a look what happens. Let's say you're in a company and you've been in the company for 10 or 15 years, and your manager comes to you and says, look, your job's obsolete now, but we want to move you over here. What's your reaction going to be? Well, most people, it's going to be resistance. Well, why is my job obsolete? I've been doing this for a long time. I should be, I don't want to change. There's this resistance to change that people have there. Change is a fear-based situation, and the fear puts people into the stem of the brain, which is there's no real sort of agility there. There's no sort of creativity. It's like sandbagging, we call it in the corporation, and they don't really want to move at all. And it becomes very hard for the management to do anything because they're trying to save the person's job, give them another opportunity, but the person's constantly working against them. This is because the thinking is restricted and has been stuck within a convergent left brain job for a long time, which is process orientated. And for us to be able to help that management structure to say, okay, look, you need your staff to be more agile. You need more entrepreneurship. You need them to be able to work together better. You need more ideas. You need more innovation. You need more positivity, motivation. You need all of this stuff. Are you getting it from your staff? Well, no. Well, they'll say, well, we're doing our own in-house training or leadership and management training. But that's not changing the nature of their minds. That's not creating a culture of innovation. That's just giving someone some extra tools to lay over the current existing mindset. In other words, here's a tool, go and use it. If you can't master it, you're still stuck where you are. So when we're starting to talk to people, we've got to say to them, what's in it for them? For a manager, it's what would it be like to get more out of your staff, to have more people coming to you with solutions, not problems, people who are more flexible, people with more ideas and innovation, so you can get better understanding of how the company can move forward from everybody within the organization. Well, how does that sound to you as an individual? Well, it should be sounding good. because that's not what the majority of companies, probably all of them actually, are doing, because most of the conditioning, left brain conditioning, has started to go from the educational system, the employmental system. People want you to do a function. Doesn't matter whether it's in a shop floor or whether it's a lawyer, it's still the same repeated process-driven function. Now, that's one aspect of what we can take to people. But if you look at the manager themselves, you're saying, well, okay, hang on a minute. How about you having more ideas? You having less stress? You being able to manage stress a little better? You being able to manage the people that are beneath you, and by understanding what their issues is from a behavioral and a neuroscience point of view? Would that not be a great insight, a great tool? Or also you can start to negotiate the people that are above you and people around you, and start to really not feel that you're under pressure anymore. So get rid of all that toxic stress so you can have a more relaxed and happy life. Maybe you want to rejig your CV. Maybe you want to double your salary. Maybe you want to look at yourself and start to see your skills that you're not really recognizing, that could put you in a far better position, far better salary, and far better lifestyle, that you could enjoy life every minute rather than maybe, putting up with bits and pieces, or even suffering it. So you've got that angle. It's a maybe situation. You're using, if this was possible, if you could do this, what would stop you? Well, nothing. So let's get on this. I'm talking to you about this as a first position. Then invite them to the event. And that's a question of closing them. Okay, which is better for you? Tuesday or Thursday? Which is a better time for you? This one or that one? All right. Which is a better subject? Career development or really personal power? Which one's going to do it for you? And they might say to you, well, I go to lots of things like this. There you go, okay, like what could you give me an example of what this is? And they go, oh, personal development. And I say, okay, in that personal development, were they changing the structure of your mind so you could think more quickly, more powerfully? Yes, they were. Okay, so did it work? Not really. Okay, so just because something doesn't work with one person, like one mechanic with your car, can't fix your car, what do you do with your car? Just jack it in? No, you take it to another one, because you do your research and you find out what really is a good mechanic, and you go there rather than going to the first one. That is the difference, because when you start to really get into a person that knows their subject, that knows flow state, can demonstrate flow state, can start to talk in the way I'm talking to you right now, without any preparation, without any understanding of what I needed to say, but knowing what I need to say from the moment to moment that we're talking, because my unconscious mind, working at 40 million bits of data per second, is doing all the work. My conscious mind is taking a little bit of a break. That works at 40 bits of data per second. Which would you like to use better, the 40 million bits of data per second or the 40? Now, everyone that you meet is using the 40. So we've got the evidence, we've got the example of upgrading the mind so powerfully that you can start to really think incredibly quickly and solve problems that you never thought possible. So that's again something that you can talk to people about. So their relationships become better. They go, oh, I understand now why my partner is saying this, why we're having this anxiety, how we can manage this environment in a better way, or even change the relationship to have a better relationship. Every aspect of your life changes with mental acceleration. You start to give up on every aspect that you've been sort of thinking was permanent and stuck in your life, and that were framing your character. And these are all unconsciously adopted patterns that aren't to your benefit, that restrict your mind within something called a sense of identity, inauthentic social identity. And what we want to be doing is breaking that out for people. We want to be breaking them from the shell identity, which has over 100 syndromes holding it back. And you can start to observe these as you're talking to people. You can start to notice how there's the core kind of yelling up from within, let me out, let me out. And it wants to live and breathe free in this world. And that is a place that you are taking people. You're taking them over the hills and far away to a place where they were meant to live, not the suppression that people live in here today. So every person that you speak to has got the potential to grow their mind. Not everybody will be interested, but you're not looking for ones that are not interested. You're looking for the ones that have got that PQ, that potential quota. And that takes sometimes a little bit of shifting. There's three kinds of people in this world. There's ones that cannot see, there's ones that can see when you show them, and there's ones who are already looking. So you've got 2/3 of the ones that you're going to be working with, rather than the third that's not really that interested. If you spend your time with the ones that are not interested, who just cannot see for love nor money, whatever you stick in front of them because they don't want to, you're wasting your time. So yours is a selection process, where you spend your time, who you invested into. And this is the key to success. If you invest your time in the right people, and you spend your time with the right people, then they will reward you with the right results. And in this particular role, we want you to grow very quickly. We want to build a team around you, and you can gain an income from managing people very, very quickly. It's up to you how quick you want to do that, but you've got to prove to not just me, but yourself and other people and the people you're going to be managing, that you can do the promotional work, you can do the activity. Now, in a job, you go and get a job in an office, you're going to be working 35, 40 hours a week, and it's hard work. Now, this is where you're self-motivated. You're working for yourself from home. You've got to get up out of bed in the morning, and you've got to start working, talking to people, sending letters, starting communicating when you're out, into events. You've got to arrange events for yourself to go to. It's all self-motivation, but it's freedom. You can do what you want, but if you want a really good success and income, you've got to do something, and you've got to do something really well, and you've got to master your art. You've got to master your subject. So when people listen to you, they go, wow, I'm really interested in what this person's saying. I'm motivated by what they're talking about. I'm energized by their energy, and I feel that they could be pointing me in the right direction. Remember, all the people you talk to want to be pointed in the right direction. They just want to trust that they're not going to be let down or deceived or in some way caused a problem, or laughed at. That's what most people are afraid of. But really, it's when you go through life, you've got to choose the path. And the most people are choosing the path of the one that most people are travelling, which is the herd. So they stick in that confined area. Not a lot to do in there. But it's the path less travelled, which is the one you're pointing people to, saying, over here you might just find a little bit more. And you don't have to go that far. Many people that you'll be talking to, they just go, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, I can do that. If you're talking to companies, it's going to be a bit more difficult because you're going to be involved in a higher level quality kind of conversation. And if you're talking to people who are capable of putting lots of people on this program or want to go on a professional retraining, remember, people who maybe considering becoming a coach, mental acceleration is the advanced industry. It's the future industry. Coaching as we know it is really old hat. Why would you coach a person and keep them in the same mental frequency and bandwidth? Why would you do it? Especially if you can upgrade the mental frequency and bandwidth so all the problems that were in the previous one cease to be. It doesn't make sense, does it? That's why coaching as we know it is old, outdated, not really relevant, because once a person gets their mind into this kind of sort of mind space, then you've really got no problems at all. So all the coaching in the world ceases to be relevant. That's why the coaching industry will fall away and mental acceleration will replace it. And that's why you are in the lead industry of the future, which is mental acceleration for all human beings. And as an organization, we want to bring in a huge amount of investment into decentralized autonomous blockchain structures so we can have people being invested into for their consciousness acceleration. We already have an investment program where people can get paid to go through the program. They've got to put some kind of skin in the game, but they can go through the program because someone will invest into them and gain a return off of their mentoring activity. We have a whole structure like that. So when we're looking at our organization, we're looking at the Council for Human Development, which is a think tank, a body of people that are trying to work together. When I say trying to work together, they're conditioned by society to really not work together. You are conditioned to compete with everybody. And so it's almost like going against the grain to a certain degree. So we've got that Council for Human Development, and it's always an ebbing and flowing of people coming in and out of it who do the training and they want to make a difference to the world, and they may go and do their own thing, or they may want to work on the project that we work on, which is a long-term, decades project. And then we've got the MindGym, which is the real resource that we have, which is the books, the tapes, the audios, the live trainings, the polymathic training. And the polymathic training is something where we use multiple subjects such as philosophy, theology, psychology, metaphysics, quantum physics, spirituality, all in the same conversation to start to develop the holistic human identity rather than cutting it down into lots of different segments, which is erroneous because each segment of the mind supports another. So you have to work holistically with the brain. So the MindGym is especially designed to do that within the programs that it offers. Whether that's live, as I said, recorded audio, it doesn't matter, or written. It's all pretty cool stuff, and you'll find it just a massive resource that you could dive into that would take you pretty well years to get through as a whole resource. But, the real gains are starting to be open to what we call the 30-day training, which allows a person to understand the 30 key steps to mental acceleration. And there are 30. Without understanding them, it's very difficult to get your head around it. But again, it's a science. We call it the science of the unknown universe. It's to a master's level. Some people considering going on a master's and taking that certification, they look at this particular program and go, well, I'd rather do that because it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more exciting. I'm getting not just a certificate, but I'm getting a career which I can immediately start earning money with and at a high level. So it's a complete career retraining. So it is to the master's level. I'm not going to say at that level it's easy, but I'm going to say it's natural to the human mind. The only reason it's not so easy is because the human mind has been conditioned to go in a left brain conformity, which is not helping the situation. So as I say, we've got the Council for Human Development, we've got the MindGym, and then we have the Human Blockchain, which is a trainer-trainer platform, which allows us to train a trainer who can then train a trainer who can train a trainer. The majority of the income from our training goes to the people doing the training or doing the marketing, people like yourself, people who you'll meet on the program. Because we're a not-for-profit, all the money goes back into the people doing aspects of the work, whether it's mentoring, coaching, marketing, promoting. All of the money goes back to there. And we try to do it in a way that isn't a structured situation where you've got some kind of boss and you've got some kind of situation that is where you've got to say 3 bags full. That's not what it is. It's where you grow and start to take on the next level and frequency of operation within human management and activity. And there's nothing stopping you doing that. Only thing that's stopping you doing that is your ego. And as soon as you can get over your ego, then people are going to start to relate to you in a much more powerful way. They're going to start to find that authenticity. So that's the human blockchain. And really, we're looking for 10 million investment at the moment to be able to launch that, as well as the consciousness coin. And the consciousness coin is a cryptocurrency, a token that will allow secure transactions for people to be invested into. What does that mean? It means that a person, let's say in New York, can invest in someone in Africa who's, let's say, in a small township who's not got a huge amount of, got maybe not hardly any money, maybe if at all, but they've got access to a local computer. And that means that they can start to learn this subject, mental acceleration, and then they can start to teach somebody anywhere in the world over the internet that subject at those prices. So in other words, you're getting a person in Africa being able to teach someone in New York at New York prices this kind of information, and that will bring a huge amount of resource into their local community where they can start to use the wit and the intelligence that they now have, the awareness to be able to change their dynamic of where they actually live and bring that resource in, bypassing government, bypassing corruption, because the cryptocurrency, the token allows them to do that. And if they want to irrigate the land around the place, they've got the money and they can bring in a contractor to be able to do it and actually be able to pay for it. So what we're doing is leveling the playing field. And that's quite important to the future, because when we're going through the re-evolution of human society, it's really taking that pyramidal structure with those few at the top who've got pretty well 99% of the money. And it's saying, okay, we're not going to work within that anymore. We're going to create a completely new ecosystem where people get equal opportunity. They don't get oppressed. They don't get put down. They don't get conditions so they become subservient from day one. They don't get that innovation removed from their brain. That's something that becomes the most important aspect of living. And in that way, we create a global society that is a much more powerful society, that it's really for, by the people, for the people. And instead of just having leaders that lead us always in the wrong direction, and there's huge amounts of corruption, corporate corruption, profits lead decisions all the time. Because we're not for profit, profits do not lead our decisions. What we do is we try to analyze, engage human potential every step of the way, and try to eke out and try to take a person that is got that wonderful PQ and allow it to grow and give it the opportunity to do so. So this entire organization is yours to explore. You can be part of any part of it. You don't have to, worry or concern yourself that someone's going to put you down or someone's going to say, no, you can't do that. Everything is an experiment. Everything is an exploration. Everything is a point of getting humanity to the other side, so we can really start to work, with AI as a massive creative genius that you are too, as I am, as everybody you know is. It's just a question of letting go what you think is true and starting to really bite into, enjoy, feast on what life should really be.